Can you work from the Camino de Santiago? If you're a digital nomad who works while traveling and you're dreaming of walking the Camino de Santiago someday, you might be wondering, is it possible to walk the Camino and juggle your work at the same time? Let's get into it. First, let me introduce myself. Hi, I'm Jen, and I walked the 500 miles on the Camino Frances from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port to Santiago de Compostela. I've also run my own digital agency and been a freelancer for over 8 years now, so I've had the chance to travel and work remote in the past. Now let's get back to our video. Let's take a moment to pause and think about the endeavor of walking the Camino. For many people, the point of walking the Camino de Santiago is to disconnect from their life at home, to connect in the present moment and sink into the experience. It's kind of like a vacation, but let's be real, it's not really a vacation when you're walking 15 miles every day. It's an experience that many people find spiritual as well. And the allure of the Camino de Santiago goes beyond really just a long walk. It's a journey of self-discovery, and it's a chance to meet people from all over the world. You can immerse yourself in the culture and the history along the way. So first, I would recommend asking yourself, before we get into anything else, do you really want to work while you're walking the Camino de Santiago? And I'm sure if you're a pilgrim who has walked the Camino before, you might be even thinking, why is this even a question? How could possibly anyone work while walking the Camino? But not everyone has the chance to take that much time off their job. It can be very tempting to want to be able to do this pilgrimage and work at the same time. Walking the Camino de Santiago can be a really transformative experience that leaves you with a fresh perspective on your work and your life. And the best part is you don't have to wait until retirement to do it. But there are a couple obstacles as a digital nomad that you might face when trying to walk the Camino de Santiago and work. The biggest challenge that I see as a digital nomad trying to walk the Camino is more than likely you're a contractor. That means you don't get paid time off. If you want to take any vacation days, you have to make enough money to cover the cost of taking those days and not expect any compensation while you're enjoying yourself. The biggest hurdle to walking something like the Camino Frances, or at least that route, is that in order to do that, you have to take over 30 days. That's a lot of time. It's also really difficult to expect your current clients or a project that you have to just go on hold because you want to walk the Camino. And do you really want to be worrying about a work deadline when you're in the middle of the Meseta? I don't think so. So again, if you can, just consider not working while you're on the Camino. Try and find that time off. But again, like I mentioned, not working is a huge privilege if you're someone who just isn't guaranteed any paid time off. And even if you are guaranteed paid time off, it's hard to find that time. So let's think of some strategies of how you can take that time. First of all, I did it. I believe it can be done. I juggled having clients while walking the Camino de Santiago. I managed to do it. First, I planned ahead. Let your clients know and set the expectations about your availability while you're walking the Camino. The Camino has a lot of remote stretches that don't have cell connection or Wi-Fi. You might be walking for 6 to 8 hours a day, and then let's not forget any potential time zone changes that you have. If you're American, you work American hours typically. Remember that in the mornings, you'll be able to check in with clients maybe in the first hour of the day before their day ends. And then at night, around 3 or 4 o'clock, you'll start hearing from people again. That's one way to be a little bit strategic, but know that you're gonna miss the overnight hours when you're sleeping. If you have the budget, consider outsourcing some of your work to a fellow freelancer or a friend that you trust to cover you during this time. Also, you might want to consider hiring an assistant if you can afford that to cover you during those hours that you're asleep if your work is the kind of work that involves being online and responding to people right away. Now, if not working on the Camino isn't going to be an option for you at all, let's consider how you still might be able to juggle everything. You could consider dedicating work days in between your walking days and take an extended Camino. That's gonna add more time to your full Camino. So it might take you, instead of 30 days to walk the Camino Frances, it might take you 60 days if you plan work days in between. But that could be a really good balance for you. You can still catch up on deadlines and stay active and online, but also manage walking the Camino as well, so you can achieve both. But I'm gonna bet that as you start walking, you're gonna find that you're gonna be more and more immersed in the journey, and you're going to enjoy being there. You're not gonna wanna spend time on your device. You're gonna wanna be able to have conversation with people, get dinner with people, and also walk with the same Camino family as you go along, instead of having to say goodbye every other day. That was definitely my experience. There was one night early on in the Camino when I still had to wrap up an article I was writing for a client, and I was working in my hotel room at 11 p.m. the day I walked from Orizon to Roncesvalles. And let me tell you, I was so exhausted. I could barely keep my eyes open while I was writing. I was falling asleep, and I just would have rather gone to bed than have to work and finish my deadline. Next tip, let's address the big elephant in the room here. How are you going to carry your laptop on the Camino? A laptop is really, really heavy. I actually met a guy who did, and I was talking with him about how much he totally regretted bringing his computer with him. It was somewhere around like Puente La Reina, where he told me that he decided to ship his backpack with his laptop ahead to Santiago de Compostela. I'm just gonna be honest here. You cannot bring your laptop on the Camino de Santiago. You cannot. You just cannot. It's too much weight and too much hassle. You are not gonna have a good time. So instead, because you still might need something that you can work on, consider bringing a tablet or an iPad. I brought an iPad and it worked for me, but quite honestly, my backpack was too heavy. And I had to ship my bag ahead, not for every stage of the Camino, but for maybe somewhere around half of the stages. So you can use Hacotrans, which is a service that takes your bag from one albergue to the next. The caveat is you have to know which albergue you're gonna be staying at the night before. This costs anywhere from 6 to 8 euros to send it each way. So, that might cost roughly around 200 euros for the whole Camino. All right, on that note, let's talk about budgeting for the Camino. Your budget will depend on which route that you're walking and how long you plan to walk for. For example, if it's the Camino Portuguese, that might take about 2 weeks starting from Porto, whereas the Camino Frances, that's gonna take probably 30 days. So start by creating a detailed budget of all of your costs: accommodation, food, transportation, and also save a little extra for emergencies. This way, ideally, you can figure out what your costs are and if you can afford to take a break from work and not be stressed about finances. If you'd like to see a video with more tips on budgeting for the Camino, please leave me a comment and let me know. Okay, so all in all, can you walk the Camino as a digital nomad? I say yes, you totally can. With careful planning and some budgeting, it's totally possible. You should do it. I did it, so you totally can too. Don't let work or financial worries get in the way of having an amazing, life-changing experience. Now, I'd love to hear from you. If you've walked the Camino as a digital nomad, share your tips and experience in the comments below. And if you have any questions about this, please drop them here. I'm also offering some free Camino de Santiago writing prompts that will help you prepare emotionally before your trip. These are journaling prompts that you can write about before you leave, during your Camino, and then after your Camino as well, so that you can really document your experience and process your emotions. You can get those free Camino de Santiago writing prompts in the description below. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for more tips on remote work and travel. Please like this video if you found it helpful and share it with anyone who might be considering the Camino de Santiago soon. Buen Camino, friends.